Hi guys, this is Ashley with Marshflower Studio, and in this video I'm going to be showing you guys how to make this adorable little monster. Oh my gosh. When I finished him I was just like, I'm in love, and this guy's staying at my house. There's a couple little things that I'm going to do a little differently for the video for you guys. I have changed the feet on this little guy, and I will tell you about some things that you can change to kind of make them unique if you want to do multiples and make them all a little bit different. So to get started, I'm going to grab my 5mm hook, and the one I'm going to make now is going to be yellow. This nice bright yellow color for me here. And of course, we're going to start with a magic circle, and we're making the eyes first. So I'm going to do the longer one and then the shorter one. Okay. So got my magic circle, and we're going to do 8 single crochets in the magic circle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. All right. For our next row, we're going to do 8 increases. So 2 in each stitch all the way around till we get to 16. So 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, 9 and 10, 11 and 12, 13 and 14, 15 and 16. All right, now we're going to have 4 rows of 16. Okay, so 4 single crochet rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Second row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 7, oops. All right, 17 means 1 for round 3. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, oops, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. One more row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. All right, so we do want to make sure that this magic circle is closed up nice and tight. There we go. For row 7, we're going to do 8 decreases, okay? So decrease number 1, decrease number 2, there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so your starting tail, you can kind of stick down inside there. If you are planning to just put safety eyes on your little monster without doing the kind of white part around, I would recommend going ahead and putting them in now, and then you can adjust which way goes front once you get to where you're attaching the eyes together. Okay. For rows 8 through 17, we're going to have 10 rows of just single crochet. So I'm going to pop a stitch marker. Whoops. I'm going to do 2 single crochets and put my stitch marker in. So that I don't have to keep counting. Some like to use felt to do the white parts of their eyes. It's totally a personal preference kind of thing. I did a magic circle with 6 and then 6 increases. So 12 stitches total for these eyes. And then I just attached my safety eyes to the white part before I sewed them to the body. The pink that I used is called Raspberry. The yellow that I'm using, let me see if it has a color name here. It does not. It's just yellow. Some yarn manufacturers kind of go out of their way to name some of the different yarn colors, and some are just like, you can see what color it is. I think that's so funny. All right, get back around to the start and see how many rows I have. So I have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay. This is one of the places where you can kind of make your monster have a little bit of uniqueness. These tubes, we'll call them, that come down from the eyes, you can make them as long or as short as you want them to be. You could have both of them just have 3 rows of single crochet. You could have both of them have 10 rows. It's all up to you. Let's see, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Oh, I made one row too many, but it's okay. All right, for this one, we're going to fasten off our yarn. Pull this through. We'll take our stitch marker out. I'm actually going to go ahead and put some stuffing down in this eyeball. If you have one of the sticks that they will stick in the stuffing bags, I find that when you're doing tubes that are this small, these things really come in handy. And I use them for other stuff too. All right, so put a little bit more in here. I don't want to completely fill up the tube just yet, but getting a good start on this end will make things a little bit easier later on. Okay, so I'm going to do the second eye. So we'll do 8 single crochets in our magic circle again. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Pull that tight. We'll have 16. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And then we have our 4 rows of 16. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I think I got one more. So 8, 16, yep, one more row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. All right. Make sure that magic circle is nice and tight there. For the next row, we're going to have our 8 decreases. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then if you want to have the kind of shorter eye, You're going to do 6 rows of single crochet, but again, you can make them any length you want. So this one is 6 rows, this one is 10 rows, and give your little monster some personality there. I think I'm going to actually do mine pretty close to even for this yellow monster. I like patterns where I can make small changes and create things that look similar but have their own goofy little personality. For the pink monster, the eyes, I did use the metallics yarn. So it has a thread of kind of iridescent stuff woven through it. And then for the mouth, I used an aqua color metallic yarn. So it also has that iridescent piece twisted in with it. So this little pink monster is extra girly. It's got the sparkle in the eyes and the sparkle in the mouth. I don't know if you can hear my dogs walking around in the background. They're walking around all over the place, probably looking for my daughter. Okay, let's see. We have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So my other one went out to 18. So I'm going to do 2 more rows so that they are the same length. Okay. All right, so now that I have both of my little eye stalks ready, I'm going to put a little bit of stuffing down in this one. I gotta hold my little tail, my starter tail out here, and I'll show you why in just a minute. A little bit more. You don't want to put too much because you don't want it to start to kind of balloon out and lose its shape. All right. So in this next part, we are going to join the two eyes together. So you take your eye stalk that you've just finished creating, and you're going to take and go through. So this is where we finished our other eye. We're going to move over to the next stitch and just jump straight across and do a single crochet. And then we're going to finish all the way around. So you'll have 8 single crochets on this first eye, and then we'll do 8 more single crochets on the second eye. See, this is the last stitch where we did this eye, so we're going to go over to the next available stitch and go around. Okay, one more here. I lost count. Okay, for our next row, we're going to be doing a single crochet and increase row to where we end up with 24 at the end. And then I'll show you why I left that little tail out. So 1 and 2, 3, 4 and 5, 6, 7 and 8, 9, 10 and 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So I'm going to pull my loop out a little bit. I'm going to grab my yarn needle, and the tail from where we finished that first eye, I'm going to thread that onto my yarn needle. And I'm going to make a couple of stitches here. So we have a little bit of a hole in between these two eye pieces. So I'm just going to take and sew those together. Usually only takes 1 or 2 stitches to kind of pull that in. And then with my starter tail from my second eye, I'm just going to tie these in a nice little square knot to make sure that that holds and stays closed. And then I can tuck those tails right down inside here and get them out of the way. All right, so we'll get back to our single crochet stitches. In our next row, we're going to do an increase and 2 single crochets, so you'll be ending with a count of 32. So 1 and 2, 3, 4. I'm actually going to use a stitch marker. I usually have quite a few laying around my table, and sometimes they get used up on different projects, and I forget that I've stuck them somewhere else. Okay, so I've got my increase and then 1, 2, so another increase. And then 1, 2, increase, 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 1, 2, and then increase, and 1, 2. Okay, in our next 2 rows, we're just going to have single crochet. So 2 rows of 32. My plan is to make probably between 5 and 10 of these little guys, all in different colors with, you know, different eyes and different expressions. So I found a lot of times you can take one and people think that they are very cute, they love them, they're adorable. But when you put several together, you end up really creating a scene that draws more people in. And then they get really excited about how they all look as a set. And if you participate in any of the craft fairs, the vendor events, I know we all tend to have our color palettes we work with, but having some things that are definitely eye-catching colors is something to consider. All right. So there's my 2 rows of single crochet. We're going to do a row of 3 single crochets and an increase, and that'll take us out to 40 stitches total for this next row. All right, so 1, 2, 3, an increase, 1, 2, 3, an increase, 1, 2, 3, and increase. Whoops. There we go. 1, 2, 3, and increase. Ah. 1, 2, 3, increase. 1, 2, 3, increase. 1, 2, 3, and increase. 1, 2, 3, and increase. Okay. For our next row, we're just going to have a single crochet row. So you'll have 40 single crochets. And this is definitely another pattern where if you happen to do one too many or one too few, it's not really going to hurt the overall look of your finished piece. Okay. All right, for our next row, we're going to have 4 single crochets and an increase. And we'll be at, I forgot to count how many stitches that is for this row. All right, so I'll just make sure that I use my stitch marker and not go too far. All right, I'm going to do 2 single crochets and then my increase. 1, 2, 3, 4. And on this one, it really is not going to matter much. It's just habit for me to kind of stagger start those even number increase rows. All right, back to the beginning. Now we're going to have 9 rows, give or take, to create this kind of mid portion of the body. And this is another area where you can do fewer rows if you would like your little monster to have a shorter body, or you can do more rows and have it be a little bit taller. I think I'm actually going to do a couple extra rows for this yellow guy. While we're doing this many rows, instead of counting, I'll tell you a little bit about how I got started with crochet. I was in middle school. I don't remember exactly what age. And my grandmother offered to teach me. She and her mother, my great-grandmother, used to make those really intricately detailed doilies with the really fine yarn. And my grandmother made some other things as well. But they used to make those really fancy doilies, and we have tons and tons and tons of them. My great-grandmother even made bedspreads and dining room tablecloths out of that super fine thread. And And even as a kid, not knowing anything about, you know, this process or how long it takes, it was impressive. The designs and patterns and flowers, oh my goodness. And my great-grandmother used to make those and just give them away. If somebody was getting married or having a birthday, she would give them as gifts. And my grandmother taught me how to make blankets. So I made lots and lots of Afghans as a teenager. Probably not the most normal hobby for a teenager, I suppose. I taught a couple of my friends how to make blankets. And they were just double crochet, back and forth rows. And I went through so much yarn. When I had to start buying my own yarn and my mom was no longer buying it for me, I realized just how much money it takes to make some of those suckers. But over the years, I kind of got a little bit more interested in some of the different patterns that I could make, using different colors for different rows. And then I started making a lot of baby blankets, because blankets take a long time, especially big blankets. Baby blankets still take time, but nowhere near as much. And they don't take near as much yarn. I found out really fast that it is way, way, way cheaper to just go buy a blanket than it is to buy all the yarn to make one. And the general community kind of feels the same way. So unless you're doing a pattern that's just crazy beautiful and you find some super soft yarn super cheap, the price versus, you know, what people are willing to pay kind of is a little off balance. So I taught an adult friend of mine how to crochet, and she got really into it and started doing all kinds of crazy stuff on her own. So once you figure it out, it's really not that hard. And she did a little hippo stuffed animal that I just thought was super cute. And from that point, I decided that I was going to try to make some of these little stuffed animals, and then I got hooked. Some of these guys you can make pretty fast, and you get super cute results. They don't take nowhere near the cost in supplies. They still take some time, but not anywhere near as much time as like a blanket does. And people love them, and they're willing to pay, for the most part, what you ask for them. If you're within a reasonable range, people that understand handmade items, they get it and they're okay with it. So without really giving away my age, I have been crocheting one kind or another for over 20 years. And I just recently, in the last couple of years, decided to start selling them seriously instead of just selling to friends and family and giving them as gifts, because I totally did that too. There's only so many of these things you can keep in your house before it starts to become a little awkward. But we have kids, so people come over and see them lying around and they're like, oh, it's just the kids' toys. All right, let's see. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows so far, so I need at least 3 more if I'm going to do to the 9 rows. But like I said, I'm probably going to do a few extra because I want him to be a little taller than my pink guy. Good gracious. My dog is ordering her brother around. Sometimes she can be a little bossy. I think she was telling him that it's bedtime and they need to go lay down. I know a lot of us crocheters or hookers. That's one of my friends told me we're called one day. We tend to do a lot of the kind of typical stuffed animals, like the teddy bears, and especially living in Savannah, we have all kinds of people that come through here to visit year-round. The things that seem to do better here are the things that are a little bit more eclectic. So, little monsters, blue gorillas, green otters, purple chickens, and I do, of course, make, yellow and brown giraffe. But rhinoceroses with swimming trunks and frogs with floaties definitely seem to grab attention here. About a year ago, I came up with a pattern for an oyster shell. And I only made a couple because I wasn't sure how they were going to do. But every time I take those to the store where I sell these, they sell out pretty quick. So if you've got something local that's popular, and we have all the tidal marshes around here and the oyster beds. Georgia is known for peaches, so we've got that. If there's a bird or a flower even, or something as simple as a school mascot. You know, here in Georgia, the Georgia Bulldogs are a big thing. So making some English bulldogs during football season is a big hit. I know there are some areas that have apple festivals in the fall. Yep. And my dogs are coming back. Let's see how many rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We'll do one more for my little yellow monster here, and then I will start showing you guys how to close the bottom of this up. That crazy noise was my lab. He gets about 5 stairs from the bottom and then panics, so he just jumps. I feel like I'm beating this poor little monster up with his eyes. Keep hitting the table here. I know this video is a little bit long, just because I wanted to kind of get through the whole thing in one shot. All right. So for our next couple of rows, they're just going to be your standard decrease rows. We're going to start with 6 single crochets and a decrease, then we'll do 5 and then 4 and then 3 and then 2 and then 1 to finally close him off. I am going to stagger start my decreases on my even rows. We'll try to do this quickly so that I can move on to the arms and the feet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and decrease. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and decrease. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, decrease. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, decrease. Hey puppers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whoop, and decrease. 1, 2, 2, 3. Now we'll do our 5 row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll put you guys to bed in a few minutes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and decrease. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, decrease. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and decrease. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and decrease. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and decrease. All right, so I'm going to do first 2 and decrease of this next row. And I'm actually going to stop for a second and finish stuffing these eyes. Okay. Once you start closing in this bottom, making it a little harder to get your stuff down there to those areas. Don't want it to be overstuffed. And it's overstuffed anyway. Oh well, I'll just add that to his character, right? All right, so I got my first 2 and my decrease. 1, 2, 3, 4, and decrease. 'Now we're doing 3 and decrease. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Decrease. 1, 2, 3, and decrease. Next row is 2. So I'm going to do 1, and then decrease. 1, 2, decrease, 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 and 1. All right. For our next row, we have our single crochet and decrease. And this will give us down to 12 stitches. So 1, 2. I'm going to take this out so it's not in the way. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. All right, so I'm going to stop and stuff his body real quick. And you can make his body as firm or as soft as you would like. Shape it a little bit. The polyfill that I'm using, I've purchased this particular brand in this size multiple times, and this batch just seems really different, and it doesn't kind of fill as easily as it has in the past. So once I run out of this batch, I'm hoping the next batch that I get is back to the way it was before. Because with this one, I don't know if it's kind of hard to see on the table, but there's all these teeny tiny little particles that break off, and they get everywhere. So especially if I'm working with something that's a dark color, you can see it all over. We'll wipe this off. And we're going to do our 6 decreases to close in the bottom of his belly. I do front loop only for these invisible decreases. And some yarn brands, the increases and decreases are definitely hidden a little bit better, and some you can definitely see them stand out. But I kind of choose yarns based on color and less on, you know, a certain kind of yarn or a certain brand. All right, so I fasten that off. I'm going to take my yarn needle, sew this bottom shut really quickly here. And then I will show you how to make the feet and the arms. And then you will be able to finish up your monster. All right. So I've got his body and his little eyes ready for the legs. So there's two different ways that I'm doing the legs. These kind of plain little legs, we have a magic circle with 6 increases out to 12, and then I did a row of 12 single crochets in the back loop only, and then another row of 12 single crochets, and that's all these little legs are. Super simple, sewed them on, donezo. For the other kind of leg, I'm going to show you how I did this one really quick. We have 6 single crochets in our magic circle, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then I wanted the feet to be a little bit more oval shaped, so we're going to do 3 single crochets in this first stitch, and then 2 single crochets in the next, so a regular increase, and then a single crochet. And then the next one we're going to do 3 in one, 2 in the next, and then a single. Okay, so that gives you a little bit more of that oblong shape versus just being round. Okay, for our next row we're going to be doing 12 single crochets in the back loop only. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. All right. From here, we're going to do 3 decreases and then 6 single crochets. So, have 1, 2, and 3, and then 6 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then our last row for these little feet is going to be 9 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, so I'm going to do my little slip stitch, pull a little bit of yarn out so that I can sew this to the bottom, and once I get the other one done, I'll sew these right down here. So I'll have this cute little foot kind of sticking out to stand on. And you can make his little legs longer if you think that would look better for your monster, or you can do the more simple foot over there. I just thought it would be cute to give this a try for one of them. So I'm going to make another one of those so he'll have 2 feet. Boop, boop. And then our arms are also super simple. We're going to start with magic circle, as always, our 6 single crochets, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then we're going to do an increase out to 9. So increase and single crochet, So 1, 2, and then 3. We'll have 4, and 5, and 6, and then 7, and 8, and 9. We'll pull that center nice and tight. In the next row, we're going to go back and decrease down to 6. So we're going to have 1, and then decrease on 2, and then 3, decrease on 4, 5, and decrease on 6. And then we're just going to do single crochets until your arm is as long as you would like for it to be. So I'm probably going to do between 9 and 10 rows total for the arm here. These little pink ones are 9 rows total. Since my yellow guy's body is a little bit longer, I may add an extra row for him. Make sure that he's nice and proportional. And then we will just sew these to his sides. For the eyes, as I said before, the white parts that I did are 6 single crochets in a magic circle and then 6 increases all the way around and fasten off. And then I attached the safety eyes to that before sewing it on. And I used 12mm eyes on this guy, just for reference. And then you can sew them on a little mouth or leave them plain. You can add other little details to them to kind of help with their personalities. If you wanted to kind of embroider a little pattern on their tummy, or you could make a little applique to sew onto their front or their behind. At least one of these little monsters is going to be getting some bum cheeks. If you've never made bum cheeks before, I highly recommend it. When people see bum cheeks on these guys, they just think that they're like the cutest things ever. So you don't have to stuff the arms. The increase and then back to decrease that we did at the beginning just kind of gives them a little bit of a hand bubble down here at the bottom versus just being a straight solid tube. So you can put a little bit of stuffing down there if you'd like, but you don't really need to. And you can just take your starting tail and stuff that down in there to provide a little bit of poof in that hand. So once you've made both your feet and both your arms, just decide where you want them attached and get them put on there, get their little eyes on, any other little embellishments you want to add, and your little monster will be all done. So remember to hit that thumbs up button for me if you like the video. Subscribe so you can see more videos of things that I make. If you have any recommendations or questions or things you would like for me to make in the future, pop those in the comments and I will get to working on those for you. And thanks for watching.